Good day, dear student. Our topic is about adverbs. Do you have any idea of what an adverb is? An adverb refers to any element in a sentence used to modify a verb, adjective, another adverb, or even an entire clause. In simple words, an adverb describes the verb. There are lots of students who are confused about the adjective and adverb because they look like the same when used in a sentence. But remember, students, that an adjective describes a noun or pronoun, whereas an adverb describes the verb or the action word in a sentence. Adverbs can be either regular or irregular. When we say regular adverbs, these are formed by adding ly or some variation thereof onto the end of an adjective. For example, the sentence, "You write beautifully." In this sentence, the verb or the action word is write. And how do you write? You wrote beautifully. So beautifully is a regular adverb in the sentence since it ends in ly and it describes the verb. The second example, he slowly walked towards the bus. The verb in the sentence is walk. And how does he walk? He walks slowly. So slowly is a regular adverb in the sentence. The majority of adverbs end in ly, and those are what we call regular adverbs. But as we will see, there are some irregular ones that need to be memorized because the spelling doesn't change, and that is what we call irregular adverbs. For example, the word fast. Fast is one of the irregular adverbs. Let's discuss the two examples. Remember that a noun is the name of a person, place, thing, or idea. In the first sentence, a Ferrari is a fast car. The noun is Ferrari. The word fast here describes the noun, so fast in the first sentence functions as an adjective. In the second sentence, he drives fast. Remember that a pronoun is a word that is used instead of a noun. In the second sentence, the word he is a pronoun. Drives is the verb. And what do you think of the word fast? Is it an adjective or an adverb? Fast is used to describe the verb drives and not the noun or the pronoun. So here, fast is an adverb or an irregular adverb since it describes the verb but it doesn't end in ly. So let us now proceed to the categories of adverb. These are the adverbs of time, adverbs of place, adverbs of manner, adverbs of frequency, and the adverbs of purpose. Let's discuss this one by one in order to get a full understanding of each category. So the first category is the adverbs of time. Adverbs of time tell us at what time, or when, or for how long the duration something happens or is the case. There is also a specific category of time adverbs that describe the frequency or how often something happens or is the case. However, their usage is a bit more complex, so we will examine those in a separate section. So adverbs of time are most often placed at the end of a sentence. For example, I'm going to the movies tomorrow. When are you going? Tomorrow. She left yesterday. When did she leave? Yesterday. We are eating now. When we are eating? Now. So, as you noticed, the adverbs of time are placed at the end of a sentence. However, we can sometimes place adverbs of time at the beginning of the sentence to put an extra emphasis on the time or duration being described. They are usually offset or followed by a comma if appearing at the beginning of the sentence, although this is not always necessary. For example, next year, I'm going to run for president. Now I have to start the whole project again from scratch. For 17 years we've been dating and not once has he proposed. Notice that they emphasize the time. That's why it is used at the beginning of the sentence and followed by a comma. In proper order. Remember, adverbs of time can be used to describe three different aspects: the duration, frequency, and certain points in time. If we are using multiple adverbs of time in the same sentence, or if there are more than one adverb of time present in the sentence, and if there is no special emphasis given to one aspect over another, then that is the order in which they generally appear. First is the duration, then frequency, and certain points in time. Even if one of the three aspects is omitted or not present in the sentence, the other two still maintain their position in relation to each other. So let's complete this sentence by arranging the adverbs of time in proper order. The sentence is, I went door to door. So we will look first at the first aspect of time, which is the duration or how long something happens. Among the three given times, which do you think tells you about the duration? So it is for 2 hours, which states the duration or for how long something happens. So our sentence will now become, I went door to door for 2 hours. Next, we will find the frequency or how often something happens, and so it happens every afternoon. And the last aspect is that certain points in time or when something happens, like last year. By arranging the adverbs of time from duration, frequency, and certain points in time, we have now completed the sentence and put it in the proper order. So the sentence has now become, I went door to door for 2 hours every afternoon last year. So the second category of adverbs is adverbs of place. The adverbs of place tell us about an aspect of location associated with the action of a verb. So it specifies the direction, the distance, movement, or position involved in the action. The adverbs of place are specific to actions of verbs, and they cannot be used to modify adverbs or adjectives. So let's look at the position in a sentence. The adverbs of place generally appear immediately after the main verb in a sentence if it is intransitive, or else after the verb's object if it is transitive. So remember, the difference between intransitive and transitive is that the intransitive, the adverb follows the verb, and intransitive, the adverb follows the object. For example, we were walking north. So the verb here is walking, and the north is the adverb of place. So in this sentence, the adverb north follows the verb walking, so it is intransitive. Second example, he kicked the ball into the field. So in this sentence, ball is not a verb, but rather an object, and the adverb of place is into the field. Since the adverb into the field follows the object ball, so it is transitive. Third example, my friend is moving far away. So it is intransitive since the adverb far away follows the verb moving. Last example, the wind keeps scattering sand everywhere. So the sand is not a verb but an object. So it is transitive since the adverb everywhere follows the object sand. So there are different types of adverbs of place. First is the adverbs of direction. Many adverbs of place indicate a specific direction of movement. For example, up, down, across, north, south, east, west. And here are a few example sentences illustrating their use. The house is situated north of the city. Let's drive down a bit farther. They walk across the field. So north, down, and across the field tells about the direction. So the second type of adverb of place is the adverbs of movement and direction. These are adverbs that ends in ward or wards that describe movement in particular directions, as in homewards, backwards, forwards, or onwards. So example, we headed eastwards. The people all gaze upwards at the meteor shower. You should always go forward in life. Next is the adverbs of location. So these adverbs all indicate the location of someone or something in relation to someone or something else. For example, the word behind, inside, outside, next to, between, and over are some example of adverbs of location. So next is the adverbs of movement and location. So other adverbs of place can be used to indicate both movement and location. Example of this include indoors, inside, outdoors, outside, uphill, downhill, and abroad. So the following sentences are used to describe both movement and location. So our mother told us to go play outside for a while. I absolutely hate running uphill. They're thinking of going abroad for their vacation. So the bold words here describe both movement and location. So the last type of adverbs of place is the unspecified location or direction. So there is no specific location or direction. For example, everywhere, somewhere, anywhere, and nowhere are adverbs of place. They describe locations or directions that are indefinite or unspecific. For example, I look everywhere for my book. I would like to go somewhere tropical for my birthday. You're going nowhere. Is there anywhere to sit down? So let's proceed to the third category of adverbs, and that is the adverbs of manner. So the adverbs of manner are used to tell us how something happens or is done. They can modify verbs, adjectives, or clauses of a sentence. The adverbs of manner are very often formed from adjectives by simply adding ly. So these are regular adverbs. In the first sentence, she is a beautiful singer. Beautiful is an adjective since it describes the noun singer. But in the second sentence, she sings beautifully. Beautifully is an adverb of manner. Why is it an adverb of manner? It's because it describes the verb sing. How does she sing? So she sings beautifully. Next sentence, he is a slow walker. Slow here is used as an adjective describing the noun walker. But in the last sentence, he walks slowly. So slowly here is an adverb of manner. How does he walk? Slowly. So the fourth category of adverbs is the adverbs of frequency. It is sometimes called frequency adverbs. It tells us how often something happens or is the case. They can describe verbs and adjectives, but they do not modify other adverbs. So the frequency adverbs are split into two categories. We have the definite and the indefinite. When we say adverbs of definite frequency, it describes a specific or exact range of time for when something occurs or is the case. For example, year or annually. Biannually. Biannually, this can mean either twice a year or 2 times in a year. It depends on the context. Quarterly, meaning 4 times a year or at the end of every quarter. Monthly, weekly, daily, hourly, every minute, and every second. Those are some examples of adverbs of definite frequency. So the adverbs of definite frequency modify verbs and generally appear at the beginning or end of the sentence. For example, I run 8 miles daily. So how often I run? So daily. Every year, our office holds a big raffle for charity. So how often they hold a big raffle? It's every year. Next, he makes a point of going to his local bar once a week. So how often? So once a week. On the other hand, the adverbs of indefinite frequency, these are adverbs that give a sense of frequency but do not specify exactly how often something happens or is the case. Unlike definite frequency adverbs, this can modify both verbs and adjectives, but their usage for each differs. So, if they are modifying verbs, the adverbs of frequency usually come before the main verb in a sentence. Let's look at the difference of the two sentences. So the first sentence is incorrect and the second sentence is the correct one. It's because the adverbs of frequency usually come before the main verb in a sentence. So it is incorrect to use the main verb first and then the frequency. So in a sentence, we should always use the frequency first before the main verb, and that is the correct order. That's why we usually go to the movies on Sundays is the correct sentence, because usually is the adverb of frequency and the go is the main verb and usually come before the main verb go. So the fifth category of adverbs is the adverbs of purpose. It is sometimes called adverbs of reason, and it tells us why something happens or is the case, and they can modify verbs, adjectives, or adverbs. So there are different types of adverbs of purpose. The first is conjunctive and non-conjunctive adverbs of purpose. So we often use conjunctive adverbs to indicate a relationship of reason or purpose between two independent clauses. Some common conjunctive adverbs of purpose are thus, therefore, consequently, hence, and as a result. When we join two independent clauses with a conjunctive adverb, they are traditionally separated with a semicolon. For example, I broke my leg last month. Hence, I was unable to work for several weeks. So without the adverb hence, so there will be two independent clauses. But with the use of the adverb hence, the two independent clauses becomes one sentence. And it is also acceptable to use a period and keep them as two discrete sentences. The conjunctive adverb still usually appears at the beginning of the second sentence, but it can also appear before or after the word it is modifying. So instead of using a semicolon, it is also acceptable to use a period, but there will be now two discrete sentences. Like for example below, we've never seen such high numbers. We must therefore conclude that the results are not normal. I've had some bad experiences with business partners in the past. Consequently, I am a little nervous about entering into this deal. So, as we can see, there are now two discrete sentences because of the period. But when we use semicolon, the two independent clauses will become one sentence. Whereas the non-conjunctive adverbs of purpose, it is also possible to use many of the adverbs above in a non-conjunctive manner, especially when modifying an adjective that derives purpose or reason from a previous part of the sentence. Like for example, the clothing is handcrafted and hence expensive. I've grown fond of our time together and I am thus sad to see it end. The markets prove to be volatile and therefore unreliable. So these examples use the adverbs in a non-conjunctive manner, or it is not used to join two independent clauses. The second type of adverbs of purpose is the adverbial phrases of purpose. So the adverbial phrases of purpose has also two types. First is the prepositional phrase, and the second one is the infinitive phrase. But first, let's look at what is prepositional phrase. It is very common to use prepositional phrases adverbially, and in some cases, they can be used to indicate purpose. These prepositional phrases usually occur at the end of the clause. A appearing after the verb or adjective they are describing, but they can also appear at the beginning of a clause or sentence, in which case they are set apart by a comma. So the most common prepositional phrase of purpose uses the compound preposition because of. For example, I am feeling tired because of this cold. Because of my operation, I had to cancel my flight. So this is the prepositional phrase with the use of because of. So this will be the reason or the purpose with the presence of because of. So some other common prepositions that can create prepositional phrases of purpose are for, given, owing to, and due to. For example, every year we honor the soldiers who sacrificed their lives for their country. So given the huge amount of public interest, they are extending the program for another 3 months. Our game was delayed due to rain. He had to leave early owing to an emergency at the hospital. So the bold phrases here is the adverbs or adverbial phrases of purpose. Next is the infinitive phrases. An infinitive phrase or an infinitive is the most basic form of a verb. It is unmarked, which means that it is not conjugated for tense or person, and it is preceded by the particle to. Any predicative information that follows an infinitive verb creates what's known as an infinitive phrase. So infinitives and infinitive phrases can serve as nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. Infinitives always indicate purpose when they function as adverbs, and for that reason they are sometimes known as infinitives of purpose. For example, I started running to improve my health. I went to the store to buy some milk. So, infinitive phrase is the use of the particle to. And so after that phrase, that will be the purpose or reason of the sentence. We can also use the phrases in order and so as to add formal emphasis to an infinitive of purpose, as in, we must leave now in order to catch our train. He's been working quietly so as not to disturb his roommates. So the third type of adverbs of purpose is the adverbial clauses of purpose. We can also use the subordinating conjunction as, because, since, so or so that, in order that, for fear that, hence, or less commonly less, to create adverbial clauses that indicate reason or purpose. For example, I am exhausted because I was working all night. As it's raining, we probably shouldn't play in the park today. I'm going to Johnny's house later since all my homework is finished. He left the house so that he could be alone. So the bold phrases here indicates the adverbial clauses of purpose. And that will be the end of our discussion.